I'm out here on Lake Wedowee, and I wanted to talk about something that I've been having really good luck with here lately, and that is fishing ditches or drains or sloughs or whatever you want to call them. I call them a ditch. Wedowee is a highland reservoir style lake, which means it's got deep clear water in certain areas and long, V-shaped fingers that run all over the lake, both down lake and up some of the rivers. What is a ditch or a drain? A ditch is a man-made low-lying area. Basically, they've cut out a little trough in the in the land, and it's created a ditch. Think about ditches on the side of a road. What's a drain? It's not much anything different. A drain is just a naturally occurring area where when runoff, rain runoff, anything like that runs downhill, it erodes that area and creates a drain, a place where water drains. And that drain or ditch can have year-round water coming into it, like a creek arm, like a feeder creek. It creates a ditch or a drain. Also, it can just have intermittent, rain or runoff running through the area, and that drain just happen to take place over time. But again, don't overthink it. How do I look for ditches on a lake when I'm approaching a body of water, whether I know it or don't know it? I'm just want to go catch fish, or if I'm looking to catch bigger fish or something like that. To me, the first thing in order to narrow down an area where a ditch is going to be productive is looking at inside bends and outside bends. Looking at the inside bends and outside bends of the water channel, the main river channel that goes by that area. Now, it can be outside or inside. The fish can change sides of the lake depending on the wind. The second thing I look for in narrowing down the area that I'm going to fish, which pockets I'm going to fish, which ditches I'm going to fish, things like that, I look at the wind. Now, I do this whether it's summer, spring, fall. I look at wind all the time. I've got an app on my phone. It's an app that shows me wind the day before. It shows you wind. And I'll look at that wind a day or two before to start laying out how I want to fish that lake. Because the night before, if you've got a good wind blowing into that pocket, that bait, that microscopic organism is going to go up in there. The bait fish are going to go up in there. And then the predatory fish, the game fish, are going to go up in there to eat the bait fish, right? So I'm looking at that wind a day or two before. If it's a really strong wind a day or two before, it's going to push it in there hard, and those fish are just going to corral that stuff in there as long as they can. When I get out on the lake that day, I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking at the wind. Where's the wind now? Is it still in the same spot? Because if it's in the same spot as I watched the day or two before, you can just about guarantee, and I know there's no guarantees in fishing, but you can eliminate a lot of time by looking at that. And if there's wind still blowing in that pocket, that bait fish, microscopic organisms, they're going to go into that pocket again, and they're going to stage up, and they're going to be ready for you when you get there to catch those fish. The biggest thing is you can do most of your research from home, and it doesn't take any special apps or anything like that. You can use, Google Earth. You can use, just for looking for the V's. Lowrance has a really good free app. It's the Lowrance Chart Explorer. I'll link it down in the description. You can use the Chart Explorer to see where the V's are at. We're looking for those V's. And then we're looking for those V's that taper out in the water. So also keep in mind, those V's don't have to extend just into a pocket. You can find those V's out on flats. You can find them out in deep water, open water. The river channel can have additional V's in there. If your lake has been mapped really, really well, you can see those ditches in areas that nobody else is really going to be looking for. Most people are going to be looking for the bank style ditches and things like that. You might find ditches in the middle of road beds. You might find ditches on the sides of road beds. But think about that. If you've got a road bed out in your lake, if it's mapped on your lake, on each side of that could technically be considered a ditch of some sort. So those ditches work the same way there. And then you're looking for those V's. And again, those V's are in the bank, or those V's are out in the main lake, but you're just looking for something that looks like a V, the shape of a V. I can't make it any more simple. Look for V's. If you find V's between December and about March, you can just about start working on those to find fish in them, because those fish are relating to that area. And when you're using your forward, and I use forward-facing sonar, but when you're using forward-facing sonar, you can see the ditches themselves. You can see how they set up, and you'll start to notice there's fish on the bottom of those ditches, and they'll dance around on the bottom, and they'll lift up when you throw certain lures down there, and that's how they show themselves, lifting up off the bottom, and then creating that target for you to throw at again. And we've talked a lot about lures on the show, on the Fish North Georgia show, about what lures we'll be using this time of the year in those ditches, and we're going to keep it pretty simple. The Cast Echo has done me really well in the ditches, but this is the 2.7 or the 2.5. Excuse me, this is the 2.75, and then I've got the 3.5, and it just depends on how your fish are reacting. I have rotated through a bunch of different baits, and that's the 3.5's done well, and the 2.75 both have done well. I'm throwing it on a queen tackle, rolling, strolling jig head, and a 10.5 gram or the 7.2. Either one of those two, I will throw it in that. I like those pretty well. Colors on the Echo. Lanier, ether, and carbon have done real well. I've also done pretty decent with the Titan, depending on the day. I haven't thrown it today. I probably should have thrown the Titan today, being it's overcast day. Another bait that I've done real well with out here on Wedowee is the zoomed wing fluke, and this is the Tennessee shad color. Done real well. I like anything Tennessee shad or gizzard shad colored here on Wedowee. It has done really well. I like it a lot. Now again, these are scoping baits. This is what I've been using here lately to catch fish with. Wedowee's one of those lakes that you can go beat the banks and you can, shaky head, Texas rig, things like that, jig. But I was specifically going to these ditches, and you need something that's going to get down there fast. You can Carolina rig through the ditch. All right, let's go back to the baits I've been using. Here's a bait I got bit on today very well, and this is the Zoom Shimmer Shad. 3-inch Shimmer Shad, and maybe a little bit bigger. Shimmer Shads work really good out here. Again, Tennessee shad has done me well. The other lure I've had really good luck on has been the Sakyamama Shad from Cross Bait Co., and it kind of mirrors the, mimics the Sakamata shad. I've caught them on this color here, which is the green gizzard, and I've caught them on the color Reservoir Dog, okay, out here on Wedowee. I have rotated through these baits the last couple times I've been out here, but the other bait that I've done really well, and I don't have any more left, is the Scopa-Dope minnow from Cross Bait Company, and I've actually done better with the bigger version than I have the smaller version in the Bawako Wakasagi. Another bait that works really good out here on Wedowee is the Mooch minnow. Again, it's got that same look as the Scopa-Dope minnow. That tail doesn't just flop straight down. It's got that little bend in the tail. It's got enough just independent wobble there in the back. I mean, look at how much that wobble is just me moving my finger side to side, that it makes a good look. You guys know these baits work. I mean, I'm not telling you anything in this video that's not something that's already known. What I'm going to do now is we're going to take the boat deep into this pocket, and we're going to look at how this ditch lays out and what you can look for in that ditch. So right now I'm standing in what is arguably a very well-defined ditch. You see the slope of the bank right there. The bank tapers down at a slope here, but it also, behind it going uphill, you see the ridge itself. This bank continues to make this sloping look all the way up into the wood line, and that's a ditch. That's a ditch or a drain. Another way to think of a ditch, because we call it man-made, right? Logging activities create ditches all the time in woods. Right here on this side, you can see there's another drain that's starting to form over time. It's got that dip right there, and it goes up the hill at kind of an angle right there, but that creates a natural drain that comes back into the lake. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go look for, I'm going to show you what a ditch or a creek arm, what I'm looking for, the next thing I'm looking for, once I get on the water, what I'm looking for, besides the finger itself, the drain itself, what I'm looking for when I hit the water to go catch me a bunch of fish, I hope. Let's do it. I want to run mapping, I want to run side scan, and I want to run down and 2D if I can. Obviously I've only got a 9-inch unit, so it is what it is with that. But I want to run as much as possible. If you can run a 12 or a 16-inch unit, it does make things a little bit easier. This main feeder creek is screaming my name. I'm gonna check it out. A lot of rocky banks in here, which means you could have a lot of fish in here because they've got different styles of cover, different styles of things they can do, things they can hide in, things they can look for. You got another ditch coming up on the right with a secondary ditch. You got a secondary little ditch right beside it, and then a main ditch right behind that, off of this main feeder creek, which in itself is a ditch, right? Not really seeing anything yet on the map, on the side scan. It's screaming, hey, there's anything going on back here. We're starting to lose that right bank a little bit. So ease over here this right bank. We may have gotten out of that river bend, out of that river channel, inside or outside bend that I like to say. We may have gotten out a little too far. This being a feeder creek, though, it could be in that area. It'd still be a productive little spot. You've got multiple drains in here. Look at the map. Look at the video. You got a drain to your right, a drain in there. You got a drain straight in front. Look at that drain. That drain right there is an absolute. That is a drain. Look at how that's working there. It's draining off that hillside. Oh, there we go. There's some bait. Now, that's at the mouth right there. What we're going to do is we're going to scan down this bank real quick because we're now sitting on this edge. There's bait fish there. There's bait fish there. There's bait fish still there. Seeing it off right side, hugging that. Look, there's game fish underneath that. Look at that. That's a game fish right there. See that? That's a game fish under that ball of bait right there. In the drain, literally in that drain. I couldn't make this up any better if I tried. Guys, it's not hard. People can tell you it's hard. You can believe, look at that, more bait fish right there. Right on the outside of that hump, around that drain. Game fish underneath of it, it looks like. We're fixing to fish for these fish. More fish. Yep, we're fixing to fish for them. Look at that. Look at all that bait fish. Well, can't get it to that. Oh, look at that. That did not take long, guys. We pulled up in this spot, and literally got on fish right away. Doing like I said to do. Doing like I said to do. It's a whole school of spots down there. Doing like I said to do. Finding a spot with bait fish, with the wind blowing into it, in a ditch.
Now understand, the bass were using this location. They were using the ditch as a ambush lane, and they were using the rocky point in front of me as the ambush location. They were driving that bait fish up onto that area, and that change in depth just made the bait fish stop there. So just think about this. The ditch, you can use the sides, either side, or you can use right down the middle. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. This just happened to work out that it was off to the side.
Got into a school of them, boys and girls. That simple. That simple. Following your instincts. Following your instincts to catch fish. That's 2 out of that school. We might not catch a shit ton more of them in that school.
Remember, bass are simple creatures. They're easy to figure out if we can find where they're feeding, which we're looking for the wind, we're looking for the contours. We can find those bass, and we can have a successful ditch fishing trip. If you like this content, please hit the subscribe button, click that thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.